Hello and welcome to Pan Global's third exploration update that we've had this fall. Thank you for attending today. I'm Jason Mercier. I'm the Investor Relations Vice President at Pan Global. With me today is CEO and President Tim Moody. Thank you for taking time out of the day to hear our presentation and the updates on the exciting results that we've had recently, as well as the financing that we've just completed. And we'll speak to both of those today. Some of you are probably aware that the financing was oversubscribed 3 times, and that this will give us the expected capital to fund the 2024 exploration program at Escacena, as well as the La Romana maiden resource. The results that we put out last week were some of the best grades we've had at the project to date in the western extension. And the mineralization is now 1.35 kilometers of strike. Shows great continuity and remains wide open at depth and to the north as well as to the west. Reminder that all participants are muted during the call, and you're encouraged to ask questions in the chat. The call is being recorded, and playback will be available on the corporate website following the conclusion of the webcast. I would now like to hand over the presentation to Tim Moody, President and CEO. Tim?
Yeah, hi, thanks Jason, and thanks everyone for joining. So as Jason said, we'll really the purpose of this discussion today is really just to give a quick update on the latest news releases that we put out, and then go quickly to Q&A. We do have some questions already in advance, so and we've got some time to answer some additional ones if anyone has them. So I think in the just to recap, I think we have an excellent project here. It's in a great location. You can see the premium on having potential mining projects in good locations. Just looking at what's happened with First Quantum at Panama and the challenges that many of the other potential future mines are having in different parts of the world. So having a mining project in a mining friendly location is a significant advantage that we have. Our property is well located with respect to other mines. It's more like a brownfield environment than anything. So that again gives us a big advantage with lots of infrastructure in a mining friendly area. Add to that, we've got an experienced team on the ground. As I've said before, we've got 2 mining engineers on the team. 7 geologists, and lots of experience on the board as well. So we can take this project all the way through to production if that's where we end up. So I think add to that, we've got copper. We've got having some high grades near surface, something that's potentially open pittable, and something that could be potentially brought into production pretty quickly. Talk 3 to 4 years from, maybe even sooner than that under some scenarios, from the time we get a mining license. So that again gives us an advantage, particularly if copper prices accelerate, as many people believe they will, in response to the energy transition, going away from fossil fuels, etc. And finally, look, the recent financing has allowed us to again go forward next year with a strong program. We're looking at how we can stretch the funds further. We're looking at cutting costs wherever we can and streamlining costs, particularly in this sort of tough environment. But having completed the 6 million financing we announced a couple of weeks ago is a real advantage for us. It certainly enables us to get on with business. As many of you may know, we've had drill rigs going now for nearly 3 years continuously, which is a pretty remarkable achievement. And prior to that financing, we hadn't needed to raise money for over 2.5 years. So again, I think we've done quite well in that respect. All right, so move to the next slide. Again, so this is a figure in front of you that I've shown many times before. We are target rich. This is a gravity anomaly map. It's a very effective technique in the Iberian Pyrite Belt. We've been drilling at the La Romana target down in the south, as many of you know, and we're continuing to test the western half of that gravity anomaly. But we have many others that we haven't tested yet. We're still waiting to get access to the big Bravo anomaly off to the east, and we have numerous other new targets that we've been generating, particularly sort of just to the west of Laramana and to the north as well. So we've got an active drill program at Laramana, although we've just moved the rig up to Cañada Honda, a target up to the north, where we think we've got another discovery. We've got about 10 drill holes planned up there, but the idea at this stage is sort of drill somewhere between 3 to 6 holes now, and then move the drill rig back to Laramana. We have a 25-hole program that was planned for Laramana. We've completed 20 of those holes currently, and we're waiting for results for 9 holes. So, yeah, whilst the drill rig is turning at Cañada Honda, that'll give things a chance for the results to come in from Laramana and help us to perhaps tailor the follow-up program at Laramana as well. So as Jason said, we've extended the Laramana mineralisation now to more than 1.35 kilometres of strike east-west. It comes to surface in the south and dips about 35 to 40 degrees to the north. So, it's ideal geometry for an open pit. It's very continuous, very, very predictable, and that's proven the case with this latest drilling. As Jason said, we've just put out some more drill results just a week or so ago, which included 5 new holes in the far west of the deposit, and it's still open in that direction to the west and to the north. But these holes, these results included the highest results we've reported to date from that drilling on the western extension. So, that included nearly 16 metres at over 1% copper, 0.03% tin, and some silver. I think it's an excellent result. And as you'll see in the next slide, it's completely open at depth. So this is the hole here with near 16 metres at over 1% copper, open at depth, grade increasing down dip as well. But also we've intersected a couple of other sort of parallel layers of mineralisation as well, which provide an additional exploration target. So this is good news. As I say, completely open at depth and open along strike to the west. The other interesting thing was we did some downhole geophysics in that hole 171, and that showed a conductor anomaly about 300 metres east-west by about 200 metres north-south. And most of that is still untested. So, again, that's telling us that this high grade that we've been intersecting in these latest holes, it has potential to continue down dip and along strike. So, the next batch of results from Laramana will include some drill holes that have some additional drill holes that have tested this conductor anomaly further. So, very simple, predictable geometry, as we know, comes to surface with some old mine workings up dip. We should also say that we expect that based on some of the drilling we've been doing there, that we could see some supergene enrichment close to surface at this as we drill further up dip here as well. So that's also pretty encouraging. Okay, this is just a zoom in on the gravity anomaly that we've been testing, and as you can see, the gravity target, this is where the drilling stops at this stage. We're still waiting for results from these holes that are marked in yellow here, and then we've got additional planned holes shown in green. So, there's still much more of this to be tested. We can see possibility that this may extend beyond this map here as well. So, hopefully it will continue. Okay. Just another slide just to show, if you step back, this is where we've been drilling the western extension of Laramana, that gravity anomaly I just showed you. We have another target off to the west, another one further to the south, and a few others further to the north. So again, we're continuing to to advance those targets and bring them forward to being ready for drilling. So with the funds that we've now got going into 2024, we'll look to be testing both complete the drilling on La Romana, advance Cañada Honda, and also look to potentially drill some of these other new targets as well. In addition to that, we'll look to bring La Romana to a resource, and potentially do that in conjunction with a PEA, preliminary economic assessment, as well. So, all right, perhaps if I hand this back to you, Jason, if you want to talk to this slide.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. So when closing the financing at the end of October, that put us with shares outstanding 242 million. There's full warrants with the financing. I think that nobody in the company included, did not want to have to finance during a lower market. But at the same time, what you're seeing out there is there's a lot of financings that are happening around the 1 million, 2 million range for juniors. And, when you look at that for juniors, that's a survival financing. They're not going to be able to do a lot of drilling with that kind of raise. So with $6 million and with the board reviewing the project for what we're going to do for the plan for 2024, I think that's very encouraging for positioning the company for when copper markets do turn around, which is exactly where we want to be. The biggest outcome of this financing, I'd say, is that we got in a significant number of European institutional investors, which we really hadn't had before. Makes a lot more sense for a Spanish project to have more close by investors that are able to visit the project easily, and that increased our institutional base about 6 to 8%, depending on how we measure it. So that the high net worth group has been very supportive of this project, both locally and in the U.S. So I think that's been really encouraging as well. Obviously, there's 2 analysts that are covering us right now. We're pushing for additional analyst coverage. We think that this project is very appealing. Partly what we've had from a lot of investors too is it's not just a copper project that's near surface and better than average global grades in a belt where mines do get developed. One thing Tim didn't mention there is that the Grupo Mexico is going underground at the Los Frailes project just to the east of us. That's 1 kilometer away from our property line. They just received their most recent environmental permit, and it looks like they'll be starting construction next year. So mines do, and they entered that process about 3 years ago. So that's something that you don't see in these best jurisdictions. People talk about 12 years or 15 years for projects to get built. So that quick build is another advantage of this project. Very appreciative, obviously, of our newsletter writers, Eric and Joe, because I think a lot of people have been brought into the story through them, and that's something that we're very much looking forward to building on those relationships.
Yeah, if I would just add to that, just to clarify, with respect to Grupo Mexico right next door to us, they're still waiting for one permit, but they did get a favourable report on their environmental study. So they're certainly getting closer to getting that final permit for them to commence construction on that. But that's great news for us. And then just to add to that, Las Cruces, just to the east, we're waiting for a decision on that. But that's another, if you like, it's sort of a new development beneath the old open pit. So they're looking to proceed to the underground development. So that'll be another mining project in our vicinity. That's 12 kilometres away, 14 kilometres away, within conveyor belt distance of our project. So, look, having those other developments on our back door really sort of helps bring infrastructure to the area and does provide some other potential options for us as far as development in the future. But certainly just emphasises, the advantage that this project has. All right, perhaps we could leave it there. But look, we're very pleased with the with the result of the financing, as Jason said, look, we would prefer that the price was stronger and so on. But look, at the same time, we don't know what the future holds as well. We could be in for another period of 6 months, 12 months, 18 months of sort of a difficult time. We don't know. But look, now we're in a much better position now to keep the drill rig going, keep the news flow, and really continue on and give ourselves a chance to such that we're well positioned when the market does start to turn around, as it will, we know. So and look, there are some great results. We're showing Laramana continues. So with some good grades right near surface, and I expect we'll have some more good news to report from there before long, and hopefully we can show the new drilling at Kenyatta Honda will also bring us further encouragement up on that big target, and it really is another big target that we're chasing there. Okay, thanks, Jason.
So Tim, one question I had there was regarding the supergene zone. Maybe you can flip back and show that for the people on the call, but I didn't quite understand the importance of that. Maybe you can explain what that means.
Yes. So supergene, the supergene zone, it's often when the rocks get weathered and you have a water table and so on, it moves up and down. But essentially what it does is it often creates a sort of you leach copper from the upper part, and you move the copper down to where what the water table may have been at one stage, and it produces what they call an enriched zone. So it means that you end up with a higher grade target there, and that usually it's characterized by a mineral called chalcocite, and chalcocite is a high copper sulphide mineral, so it has a much higher proportion of copper relative to other elements than, say, the chalcopyrite, which makes up most of the mineralization below that. So it can be a really attractive mineralogy, can be a very attractive exploration target. We haven't seen a supergene enriched zone all over Laramana, but it certainly seems to be quite well developed over in the west. So this could present an additional target for us going forward.
And what's the range, and how close to the surface is that?
Yeah, so if you look at this is probably, here we're looking at certainly within 50 meters of surface.
Okay. Well, with that, maybe we'll turn now to the questions we received in advance of the call, and then we'll after that go to the chat for questions. First question: when will the next Laramana extension results be released?
Yeah, so as I said, we're waiting for results from about 9 holes at the moment. So I expect they'll be available in the next sort of 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay. With recent adverse activity and foreign mining investment insecurity in the Americas and elsewhere, can you comment on the mining investment environment in Spain, specifically in the Iberian Pyrite Belt region? Yeah,
so look, you can't say that the same for all of Spain, but certainly this area of Spain is a mining area. The Iberian Pyrite Belt, as many of you will know, has been continuously mined for over 3,000 years. So, but look, it's a mining area. It's where most of Spain's mining industry is. It's got an excellent track record of converting exploration success into mines. There are examples we can look at. I often quote the Magdalena discovery, with grassroots copper discovery made in 2012, put into production by 2015. And we're seeing other examples of fast permitting, as well. Things that might, in some areas, some of these big porphyry deposits in the Americas, for example, take 20 or 30 years to get permitted and get into production. That's not the case with these the volcanogenic massive sulphide systems in the Iberian Pyrite Belt. So, look, this is a huge advantage for us, particularly where we are located. Where the nearest town is called the town of Asnojoya. It's built on the edge of an open pit. The mayor is a miner. Most of the town has either got family or relatives or whatever that have worked on the mines. This is mining country. So it's a huge advantage for us, and a premium, I think, when you look at around the world.
Speaking of premium, what is the estimated timing of a maiden resource at La Romana, and what else is required for that to happen, and how long will it take to then get to a PEA?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Look, we're certainly moving closer and closer to resource. We are quite advanced. I think we've got now coming up to 180 drill holes in the project, so we know it pretty well. Look, the intention has been that we try to drill off the western extension to know how big it is, and then look to come out with a resource. So, I expect we'll be able to do that sometime this year. In terms of it could be middle of the year. We'll see. But look, sometime this year would be the intention. We'd like to also perhaps come out with a PEA at about the same time. I think that would be important and I think we'll be in a pretty good position to do that, to bring forward both a resource together with a PEA or very close to it. So sometime this year is about the best I'd say at the moment. If it's later in the year, that's because we're still hitting mineralization, or we've got there'll be a good reason to delay it. But that's the best I can offer at this point. But we are quite advanced with environmental studies that we've got going, the detailed block modelling, the metallurgical test work, all of those things, all good things that we're going to need, not only for resource but also for PEA.
Great. Next question. A lot of the other copper projects out there seem to be bigger than what PanGlobal has at Escacena. I know a bigger project will cost more to develop, but is there some context you can give about how the attributes of Escacena compare to the porphyry deposits or other VMS deposits?
Yeah, so I'll tell you more generally, the volcanogenic massive sulphide deposits tend to be higher grade than, say, the big porphyry copper deposits. So, and they can be, volcanogenic massive sulphide deposits can be very profitable. And so, often with higher grades, etc., as I mentioned. I think the other thing comes down to, say, capital risk and time to get into development and so on. There's some of these big porphyry copper deposits come with significant technical risk and financial risk. When you're looking at projects that might take 20 years to get into production, that has an impact on the economics as well. So, having something like our own project at Escacena at La Romana, something that's at surface, it's open pitable, it certainly looks that way. Simple geometry, simple metallurgy. This is something that has the potential to be able to capture the advantage of higher copper prices in the next decade. That many of these big challenging projects, often in tough locations, whether it be geographically tough location, mountains, high Andes, or in areas with high political or commercial risk, etc. We've got a huge advantage in the location where we are.
And next question, and you spoke to some of this before, but where are you currently drilling, and what is the plan for 2024? Will you stay with one drill rig or add more?
Yeah, so we're currently drilling with one drill rig. We had up to 4 rigs operating this year, but look, we're conserving capital and making sure that every drill hole counts. So the intention at the moment is to continue with one drill rig, and we'll respond to results as well. I think the advantage of having the 6 million now in the bank, it does give us more flexibility. But at the moment, we're quite comfortable drilling with the one drill rig. As I say, we get very high productivity with the drill rigs in Spain. So again, it's a big advantage for us. Most of our drilling is quite shallow. We're not drilling 1,000-meter holes. These are holes that we finish in a week. So again, it's a big advantage. So currently we've been drilling at La Romana on that western extension, as I mentioned. We still have at least another 5 holes planned there. but we've just had some rain there recently, and rather than sort of mess up the farmers' fields at this time, we decided to move the drill rig to Cañada Honda. So the drill rig is there at the moment, and as I say, it would make sense to drill 3 to 6 holes now, and then move the rig back to Larramana to continue to follow up and see if that high grade that we've been intersecting at Larramana continues. But that also gives us a chance to move Cañada Honda forward as well. So whilst we're waiting for results at Larramana, it's a good opportunity to do that. But going forward into 2024, look, we'll clearly be completing the drilling at Larramana. We'll look to continue drilling Cañada Honda and move that along, and hopefully we'll be able to drill 1 or 2 or maybe more of some of these other targets that we've been generating. But let's see how we go. But we've got flexibility now that we didn't have if we didn't raise the money we did. Sorry, I just might add to that, Jason. I think it's important to say that we've done a lot of geophysics and geochemistry and mapping and things like this during this year, and we don't need to do a lot more of that geophysics in 2024. So that means that most of the money that we've got can be used for drilling rather than be spending more money on lots of geophysics, etc. We've got plenty of targets as things stand. So that'll enable us to really stretch the dollars further, and how far we can go into 2025, that we'll see.
And I would guess too that planning for drilling, there's a lot more flexibility when you're drilling in southern Spain compared to a lot colder climates or more challenging areas, by topography.
Yeah, this is we've got sealed road access to most of these properties, or roads to them. It's pretty accessible. So and seasonally, yes, we get the very intense heat in summer. We're obviously conscious of the safety and other logistic issues of drilling in very high high temperatures. And I mentioned that we're also have to consider the environmental impact as well. When it's raining and so on, not wanting to churn up the farmers' fields unnecessarily as well. So but otherwise we can drill year round.
Great. Last question we had in advance here before turning to the questions from the chat. I know tin is more valuable than copper, but will it be payable at Larramana? And what are the recoveries like for tin generally? Yeah,
so we have importantly we have the tin mineral cassiterite. So that's really good news because we don't seem to have any other tin minerals that so cassiterite is the ideal mineral for metallurgical extraction. So that's a good start. Probably just on an in situ basis, about 15 to 20% of the potential value could be associated with the tin. So it's a really worthwhile thing to see if we can get most of that tin. But look, if we can get better than 50% recovery of the tin, that's a really good result when it comes to tin mining, particularly as a sort of byproduct or co-product, you would say in this instance. We as I've reported previously, we have metallurgical test work underway looking at the tin mineralisation. We expect to have some results for that maybe by the end of this month or before the end of the year, and hopefully we can share some of that. But we're very encouraged with the preliminary results from the tin metallurgical work that we've been doing, particularly as it looks like gravitational separation looks to be working, and gravity separation is quite a low cost extraction process. So it's fingers crossed, but it's looking good at this early stage. So we expect that the tin could be a really valuable addition to this deposit.
Great. Looking at the chat, the first question we have there is, what would shareholders receive from production?
What would they receive from production? Well, it depends. Ultimately, we could end up with it could have a big appreciation on the share price. So that's one thing. And a multiple on the share price. So hopefully we'll see that happen before it gets to production. But once we're in production, it certainly leaves open the opportunity of perhaps what we call it, dividends, etc. But look, it's too early to stay on that at this stage. We certainly see where the company goes from there.
Right. Next question, and we don't have Jim on the call, but I know you can speak to this, Tim, as obviously you work closely with him. Can Jim Royal talk about some of the challenges on the exploration front, and with the recent financing in the bank, any consideration to speed up the exploration, such as increasing the number of rigs to have be drilling both on Romana West and Cañada Honda?
Yeah, no, I can answer that. Exploration challenges, really, it's I wouldn't say necessarily a challenge, but it's more a case of just working with the farmers to make sure that our impact, that we're working with them, we're earning the social license as we go. So to move the project forward in that sense, yeah, and look, that can mean we don't necessarily drill all the targets in the order we want. I guess the biggest challenge we've got at the moment, is just to get the access agreement on the Bravo target at the moment. We will get access to that. I'm confident of that. Just it's a case of when, not if. So I think just getting the access and getting the coordination right with the farmers, I guess, is a challenge for us. Look, I think another one is many of the targets we have here are in what they call, they're blind targets. In other words, you don't have much rock sticking out of the ground, or it's covered by post-mineral sediments, younger material that makes it essentially makes the target blind. So you're really relying on geophysics, and really then it comes down to the quality of the geophysical interpretation and then the geological interpretation that goes with that. So it makes it more challenging when targets are blind, but certainly we're showing it more often than not when we go and drill the geophysics targets, we're hitting mineralization. So it is that's probably the biggest challenge.
Next question: if strike continues off map, and I think we're probably talking about La Romana here, will we try to also continue to acquire the off map areas?
Well, we have off. I guess if I go back to. Yeah, I'll just go forward here. By off map, maybe looking at this map here, but we have, this is all our minerite. So here's La Romana, the western extension. We've got a long way to go before we run out of ground. So we don't need to sort of go after more ground to get access to the targets that we've got. As I say, these are new targets, untested, completely untested, with big targets. So we've got plenty of ground to work in here as things stand, and this is just one small portion of the big land holding that we have.
Great. Next question: in the latest news release, it was mentioned that a downhole electromagnetic conductor anomaly from LRD 171 provides a strong indication the higher grade mineralization continues down dip and will be targeted for future drilling. What is the plan here now that we are fully funded?
Yeah, so well, we had the 25-hole program already planned. So some of those holes that were planned in advance of this will be testing this conductor anomaly. So we've got some holes sort of 50 to 100 meters to the west of this cross section. We're waiting for those results to come in, and also a little bit further down dip as well, but off section to the west. So based on the results of those holes that we're still waiting on, that'll give us a further, if you like, look at whether this high grade continues. But also we'll look to do additional downhole geophysics to see if this conductor anomaly continues. This conductor anomalies, it's a very good coincidence with the mineralization. So given that it seems to correspond with the highest grade we've intersected over in the west, it does sort of suggest that there is some correlation that geophysics with the higher grade. So, there's no guarantee. It is just geophysics, but at this early stage, the plan is to just continue to test more of that conductor anomaly to see how far the high grade does continue, and then also do additional downhole geophysics to see if we can extend the conductor anomaly or look for other areas of higher grade, off hole, so further away.
And also relevant for this slide too, from Jim McLean, the intercepts below the base of the C target at Romana appear quite thin. Does that mean that the focus will be on the C and shallower targets?
Yes, look, I think at this stage, obviously B is the main target, but look, this is pretty close to zone B, this sort of lower parallel horizon. Obviously not much drilling. The drilling's quite wider spaced here, but this is potentially something that perhaps not in the first stage of an open pit mine, but as you sort of go further back, you could potentially capture that in an open pit. I think something like this thin layer, which is got some really high grades, but it is sort of half to 2 meters thickness, up to 3% copper. It's what that can sometimes indicate is that could lead into something more significant. We've certainly seen that in other areas of La Romana. We know it occurs in other deposits in the Iberian Pyrite Belt. So this is certainly something we want to continue. To get the drill rigs when we're drilling, to try and get down far enough to see this layer, to see if that starts to develop any thickness, that it becomes a separate target in its own right. Another interesting thing is that these layers must come close to surface as well. So we haven't done much drilling to the south close to surface, targeting the up dip extensions of these deeper layers or lower layers. So that represents another target in the future, particularly where, even though here zone C is a bit lower grade than what we're seeing here, if we do get some supergene enrichment here, that could make it also an additional more attractive target to go for in the future.
Great. Next question, and maybe you can just talk a little bit about the Spanish process here, Tim. Any movement in securing surface access in the east, the Bravo target?
There's a process in Spain called temporary occupation. So where if you've made your best effort to reach an agreement with the farmer to get access, when you're granted your mineral rights, you do legally have access to these areas, but you try to reach an access agreement, usually with some sort of compensation arrangement, for drilling or whatever, which is like what we've got for most of the area that we have got access to. So if you can't reach an agreement, then there is a process in Spain where the mines department can issue what they call this temporary occupation order, where basically we get access to the land that's without having to get the access agreement in place. The mines department will step in and make sure the gate is open when we need to get in there. But our experience is that by the time you get the resolution for the temporary occupation, the farmers generally negotiate, and that's been our experience every time. So we're certainly sort of hopeful, expect that things won't be any different, that once we get the resolution with the temporary occupation on the Bravo target, that will sort of open the door for successful conclusion of an access agreement.
Great. Side question I got here, in the next few months, what percentage of expenditures is planned for exploring and drilling non-La Romana targets versus drilling La Romana?
Yeah, look, that's something we're still working. We've got a board meeting. Usually we get the plan for 2024 approved in December. So we'll finalise that once we have the board meeting and get the approval for the program next year. So, but look, I think what I would say is that we want to make every drill hole count, and we'll continuously look to sort of prioritize drilling and where we test. But look, we've got two really high priority targets in La Romana. The western extension's still open, still growing, and also at Cañada Honda, which is, as I say, it's a target we're really excited about. Copper and gold. Again, big gravity anomaly, mostly untested at this stage. So I think that's going to keep us busy just on those two alone. But we're in the meantime, we're still trying to advance some of these other targets, and some of them look pretty attractive in their own right.
Next question here from Mark Blythe. Who owns the land to the south of La Romana?
Yeah, so that's an area that was previously owned by Matza, but they lost the ground and didn't do work. So that now we're waiting for that to go to what they call a public bid. So so at this stage, it's held by the state.
Great. And looking here, last question, is the inflationary pressure on the drilling costs abating? And what is the current all-in cost per meter?
Sorry, could you, the first part of that, Jason?
Oh, sorry. Is the inflationary pressure on the drilling costs abating? And what is the current all-in cost per meter?
Yeah, look, we haven't seen a great increase in the drilling costs with inflation in Spain. I don't think the drilling costs increased this year. We did have some higher costs related mainly to because we needed more water, and there was a sort of drought through much of the year. But we haven't seen a sort of meter drilling cost increase otherwise from the drilling company. It's, if I recall correctly, I think the total costs are something like $200 to $280 a meter, all-in costs for drilling. That's site preparation, etc. So something of that order. Which
that's Canadian dollars too, right?
Canadian,
yeah.
Okay. Say $280 thereabouts for everything.
Right. Which, of course, when you compare it to other more challenging areas for drilling, it's quite economic.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that concludes the Q&A portion. I just want to kind of wrap it up with the key points that continue to be hammered home. That the continuity of the deposit is there. It's near surface, and it's wide open to the north and to the west still. And then while we continue to expand the La Romana deposit, obviously we've got the intriguing Cañada Honda where we're drilling today, and many other targets that offer good upside potential. Tim, if there's any comments you want to leave with?
No, that's all. But thanks everyone. And if you have any additional questions, please sort of get them through to Jason and myself, and we'll endeavour to get back to you.
That's great. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.